Hi everyone, today I've got another video in the Distress Oxide layering combination series. Now this is a blueprint sketch. It's a lovely bright blue. We haven't got that many blues in the series so far because we're working alphabetically. We've had a lot of reds and purples, so I'm really excited to start adding some blues to my collection of swatches. Now you can swatch along, of course, absolutely. Build yourself a library like this, or you can just keep watching the videos and make sure you're saving them to your favorites as well. Now, if you come down to my desk, I wanted to show you today how I tend to choose my combinations, and it's going back to another video series that you can access on YouTube completely free. All 72 videos are there, and from those Distress ink and oxide blending videos, so they're blending combinations where we blended from one colour into another like so. I like to go through these, pick out the colour that I'm using and see which colours work with these. So this is how I've chosen a lot of my colour combinations. This is a fantastic resource if you want to go ahead and do something similar. This is all laminated for me, and I've written on the back of each of the swatches which colours I've used as well. So I have got some beautiful combinations here that I can keep referring back to time and time again. This one being my favourite. Anyway, blueprint sketch today. Let's start with this. Now, if you've not seen one of these videos before, what we are doing is smooshing these. So I'm going to put some of this onto a resistant mat here. I've got a silicone mat down. I have got watercolour cardstock. I'm going to spritz this with some water and press it into my cardstock to create a base colour. And then I'm going to start going over the top with alternative Distress Oxide colours. So today I'm going to be doing two of the swatches with blueprint sketch on the base colour as the first colour that I do, and then I'm going to put a secondary colour over the top of each one. Then my third swatch, I'm going to be putting other colours down and blueprint sketch over the top. This is because oxides are pigments, and because they are pigments, they tend to sit on top of each other rather than soaking in and mixing too much. You do get a little bit of mixing because you're reactivating the previous inks with the moisture from the second one, but not as much as I find if you're using dye inks. So I'm going to take my heat tool and I'm going to dry this off. So there's a nice wash of colour as our base colour, and I'm going to go in a second time with what's left on my mat to add a little bit of texture. This is adding more dots in here, some more shapes as well. Look at that, absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to dry this layer off too, and then I'm going to reinvigorate this with a little bit of water, and I'm going to repeat the process again, maybe adding a little bit more ink with a second swatch too. So I have two swatches ready. As you can see, they are very different, although exactly the same technique and colour has been applied to both. This just goes to show that with smooshing, you do get different results every single time. Now, if you've never used the smooshing technique, check out this video just here that's going to guide you through it from beginning to end with all my top tips and tricks included. So next, to add colour to one of these, let's go with the picked raspberry first. I thought blue and a hot pink would look beautiful together. We may get some purple come through because blueprint sketch is really such a bright colour. It's such a dark, vivid colour. So I've had to choose quite bright colours to go over the top of these. And this is the strongest of all the pinks. Now, if you want your oxides to show up stronger, add less water. Okay, the more you add water, the lighter, the more pastel, the paler it's going to be, because of course you're watering it down. Look at that. Immediately, that is turning purple. We're not actually getting much in the way of pink there. So I'm going to scoop this up anyway. That is a beautiful, beautiful purple colour actually. You can see hints of the pink, and I'm going to do some more pink in a moment. That is really, really pretty. Now, what's left on my mat is a mix of the pink and the purple. Let's just pick a little bit more up of the pink on this end if I can. Just a touch. And I'll add some more, like I say, I'll layer some more over the top. That's actually mixed a lot more than usual. If you don't want this to mix so much, don't add as much water. I'll show you an example of that in just a moment. Now, I really like those colours, so I'm going to take a scrap piece of watercolour cardstock and just soak these up, because you never know, you might be able to use them. So I'm going to spritz them a bit with a bit more water as well, just to blend them and create myself a background. There we go, I'll put that to the side. Now, once more, I want that pink to really show through. So lots of ink and much less water. So 3 squirts there of my, I've got my Distress sprayer. You can use any water mister you have. Just picking up as much of that pink as possible. There we go, beautiful. Now I've got a bit more of the hot pink coming through. Let's dry this off. And at the end, we tend to take a look at each of the swatches up really close so you can see the colours coming through and all the detail in that texture that we've built up. So there's our first example. Now this is Blueprint Sketch. Picked raspberry together, absolutely stunning. I do love those colours together. They are beautiful. But I bet this is, I mean, this is how it started out, kind of. I bet this is going to look so different if we put over the top Gathered Twigs instead. So Gathered Twigs is a brown. Now I really, really love browns and blues together. I particularly love actually browns and teals, but this is kind of the next best thing. So again, I'm not going with too much water on here. I tend to put the middle down first. Have a look. Now that's gone almost as a wash, and there's some greens coming through because Gathered Twigs is quite a warm brown. So I'm just picking up and covering most of the area. And then I will do the same as I just did with the pink, and I will go back over the top. Now as this dries, you can see that blue coming back through. There are hints of a green tinge to it, but not too much. It's really distressed the blue though. It's really darkened it down. And do you know what? It looks so different compared to the picked raspberry, which we'll put them side by side in a moment. I'm almost inclined not to do a second layer of the brown on here because you may not want more brown, but I'm going to because, you know, keep it fair. So I'm going to actually clean this off first. Just keep my mat clean and keep it as nice and sharp colours as possible. I'm going to add 2. So I'm just swiping or twisting as I press down. And let's just pop into the top. See, there we go. I'm trying to put this down on smaller areas this time instead, rather than all over, just to get even more texture in there. Let's see if we can get some more up here, a bit down here. Just trying to capture any areas I might have missed. Beautiful. I love that. I think if you're doing a grungy background for a masculine style card or a steampunk card, something like that, this is perfect. Just those 2 colours, we've actually got a lot of other shades coming through. So the brown seems to have almost separated into a warm and a cool brown. So for example, here you can see that lighter, brighter, warmer brown. And then next to it here, you can see that darker, cooler brown where it's mixed with the blue a lot more. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at the difference between those 2 backgrounds. You wouldn't even believe that that was the same blue used, would you? In fact, this looks more Uncharted Mariner now. So let's take a look at one more colour combination before we look at these up close. And that's going to be the Blueprint Sketch alongside Salty Ocean and Twisted Citron. Now, as I say, this time I'm not going to be putting the Blueprint Sketch down first. That's going to be our last one. Salty Ocean is going to be our first. So I'll go blue, then green, and then blue again. Salty Ocean is a lovely bright colour. So it's a brighter blue. So this one we'll probably put down almost as a wash in the background. But if we have those white spaces coming through, I do not mind that at all. I quite like when you utilise the white background within your backgrounds. So have the white coming through like so. That looks amazing. Anyway, I love this colour. I cannot wait until we get all the way through the alphabet to the S's and we do a complete video on Salty Ocean. But in the meantime, of course, you do have the Distress Ink and Oxide blending combination series where you can go and have a look at each colour individually and see what I've blended it with side by side. Salty Ocean video is there. I'll make sure that's actually linked up here for you. And from that Salty Ocean video, you will then go and find the playlist, and that will have all the colours in. You can browse through at your leisure. So there we go. Let's do a second layer now where we're really getting this texture in. Look at that. definitely, I mean, Salty Ocean is the perfect name for this colour. I think it definitely looks like a beautiful bright blue sea. Right, so just cleaning that up, and then we move on to Twisted Citron. So again, a very bright colour. I'll put lots of this down because I think the blue might overpower it a little, and I'll try not to put too much in the way of water down either. If you feel that you might have too much water, which I'm going to do with the blueprint sketch in a moment actually, you can lift the first layer off with a scrap piece of paper and use the second layer, which is always a little more blotchy, a little more texture because it's pooled. Now this is really picking out some dark greens. Look at that. I mean, these two colours together are beautiful on their own, but of course we are featuring blueprint sketch today. That has really stood out actually. I'm not sure I even need a second layer of the Twisted Citron. I think it may actually overpower them. I thought it would be the Salty Ocean overpowering the Twisted Citron, but this really has brightened it up a lot. I will go in with the second layer just because we've done it with every other colour pretty much, but I do love the texture we've got in there as well. So let's just pick up a little more, although a lot of this is now darker green after mixing. So now to add our focal point colour, which is our blueprint sketch, and just I'm going to put quite a bit of this down because it is the colour that we're focusing on today. Now, there's quite a bit of water there, and I know already that that is going to just wash over everything, which I don't really want. So I'm going to take this as my swatch where I picked up the other colour. Now that's quite pale, so what I'm going to do is just pick up this so that the ink on there goes blotchy. So it started pooling. So you can see that's what would have happened to this, an overall wash. I mean, that's quite cool anyway. I can use that for something later on. So I'm going to pop that to the side. But this is what we're looking at now. So we've got a lot less ink on there. It's dispersed a little bit, much easier to get texture in here, as you can see. If you press and swipe slightly, you'll get larger areas covered in one piece. And if you just tap, you should hopefully get just the texture. So it depends what you're after, whether you want an overall wash. Now this darker blue is really going green. There's a lot of green in here. That Twisted Citron has really lifted it up. It's absolutely beautiful. You can't really see the blueprint sketch colour anymore. It's mixing really well. It's like a grey blue almost, a green blue or grey blue. Really beautiful. So look at this, the same colour used in all three swatches, but they are all so different. Let's take a look at these really close up. So first of all, here is the picked raspberry and the blueprint sketch. Isn't that just so pretty? Can you see those purples coming through as well? You've got a little bit of the brighter pink just there. Look, I've got blue all over my fingers too. But yeah, I love the purples coming through there. It's a little more subtle, this background. It's actually mixed really nicely. You can see down here a perfect example of that blue colour, lavender colour that's been coming through. Then we had the gathered twigs. I think this is my favourite one because I love distressed. I love grungy. This is just absolutely perfect. And I was talking to you about the two different types of brown that are coming through there. You've got the much lighter brown, then you've got this darker, cooler brown as well. Even the blue has got this darker shade, almost a grey in here. Absolutely stunning. And lastly, all those bright colours, those greens. So this again is looking a little bit Uncharted Mariner-esque. Because it's got that green mixing in with it, so it's made it more of a teal blue than a bright blue. But yeah, again, as a background, I absolutely love this. And of course, if you don't absolutely love your background, if for example you think you like the colours but it's a little bit too defined, you wish it was a little bit more washy, you can simply spritz it with some water. As these are all water reactive, I'm going to show you now because this one is quite defined. There's a lot of texture in here. We can afford to do this just this once and get some of those colours moving about a little. So a little spritz of water You don't actually need too much, and just let the colours do their thing. Make sure you've got water exact just where you need it. I'm just going to hold this down so that the colour doesn't pool. Now you've actually got some light shining on there, but I'll lift that up in a moment. So these white areas are simply some light shining. But I'm going to hold that down, let that do its thing. If you've got magnets or something so you can hold this flat, that's perfect. Let it do its thing for a moment, and then let's dry this off again. And then take another closer look, and you'll see the difference that that's made, yet still keeping the separation of colours just. So there we go. You can definitely see that's a lot more blended, more of a watercolour look to it now, and you can absolutely do that. You do get watermarks, but I like these. I really like that within a background. So that's another way you can potentially fix a background if you've smooshed it and you're not overly happy with it. Have a go at just spritzing it. At the end of the day, it's just water and a little bit of ink. So I hope you enjoyed looking at Blueprint Sketch and smooshing it with other colours. The next one is another blue that I'm hoping you're going to absolutely love. A slightly brighter blue this time though, so keep an eye out for that video, and don't forget of course to make sure you are subscribed or following the playlist on YouTube so that you don't miss any of the colours in the Distress range. Take care everybody, and I'll see you again soon.